Kia ora. This is a bookshelf tour of one of my main bookshelves, one of my manga bookshelves. I think this is the main manga bookshelf, but there's a second one beside it, but that also has a combination of novels and manga. So I'll go through this one. Start at the top. We have a light novel series called Monogatari. This is all of Monogatari. There are two sort of off seasons or like side series of this light novel, but this is the main series incomplete, and it's 3 box sets. They kind of have a cursed order of which ones to read them, because the release order is not technically like the canon order, and the chronological order is also not the canon order, but the later ones basically run pretty smoothly. They also have boxes. I'm just going to show those briefly, and we'll just quickly run through them. So the first, you've got Kizumonogatari, which is Wound Tale, which was written after Bakemonogatari, but is intended as the introduction to the series. Then we have Bakemonogatari, which is the most famous one, and often what the series is referred to. Then we have Nisei Monogatari, which is the second part. Then we have Neko Monogatari, which is the last. Neko Monogatari Black is the last book of the first box set, and then the second box set is kind of like a second season of it almost, because the books kind of define themselves as seasons. So we've got Neko Monogatari White, and then we've got Kabuki Monogatari, Hana Monogatari, Otori Monogatari, Oni Monogatari, and Koi Monogatari. And that's the second season. These ones, none of these are connected to any other one. They're kind of all standalone, except for Neko Monogatari's sort of a sequel to Neko Monogatari Black, but sort of sequels. They're kind of like, I don't know. They've got a interesting relationship going on there. And then we've got the final season, which I have not read all of the final season. But we have Tsuki Monogatari and Koyomi Monogatari, Owari Monogatari, and Zoku Owari Monogatari. Then we're on to a little Naoki Urasawa selection. So we have a standalone story collection called Sneeze. And then we have Asadora. So Asadora is... I think it's Naoki Urasawa's most recent series, but I think he's announced that he's going to be working on another series. But this guy often has multiple series on the go. But yeah. And then we've got a standalone one-shot volume of Solonin by Inoue Asano. Then we have... a little bit of Tatsuki Fujimoto with his one-shot works, Look Back and Goodbye Eri. Then we have some Shinichi Sakamoto with #DRCL. And then we have all of Neon Genesis Evangelion, the manga. In front, we have a power figure from Chainsaw Man, just kind of posing. Then we have Noise by Tsutomu Nihei, which is the prequel to Blame. And then we have some Go Tanabe, which Gotanabe mostly does H.P. Lovecraft adaptations. So we have The Shadow Out of Time and I'm confusing. It is The Shadow Out of Time. and The Shadow over Innsmouth. And then we have Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko. Yep. Anytime there's like a random volume missing in sequential order, it's generally because it's being read or it's in like a to read pile. If the series it ends at a number and there's still more volumes, it means I've stopped collecting it for now, because obviously if you try collecting everything that you have up to the most recent volume, you kind of end up with an insane amount of manga. It's just kind of the reality of it. Now we're on to City by Keiichi Awari, and then we have Nichijou by the same author. So these are two complete works. I believe Nichijou continues after this box set, but this box set is the original run of Nichijou. And then after the author completed City, I think he picks back up Nichijou. But it was technically finished for a while. And then we have this Miku Cup. And then we have all of the Bakemonogatari manga. And then we have this Bionicle. And then we have Komi Can't Communicate and some miscellaneous volumes on top of it. So we have Rooster Fighter Volume 6. We have Bocchi de Rock Volume 1. And then we have a Russian science fiction novel called Roadside Picnic, which doesn't really fit with the theme of the shelf, but it's just kind of chilling there. Then we have all of the volumes of Blue Period that are out in English. There might be another one, but I think I'm up to date. Hirayasumi, and then we have the first omnibus of Drifters. We have all of Azumanga Daioh. We have Flying Witch. We have Freyrin. We have Opossums. And we have the rest of the Komi Can't Communicate. So quickly run through what these are all about. Blue Period is about someone discovering their passion for oil painting and pursuing art school. And then Hirayasumi is about sort of drifting through life and just kind of like it's sort of got this kind of like summer break but for life kind of feel to it. Drifters is sort of an isekai, but it is an isekai, but it's not at all anything like any other isekai. It's more like it's written by the same person who wrote Housing, and it's very like gritty. It's very it's kind of a military like book where it so basically the plot of Drifters is a bunch of like important historical figures, mostly military figures, have been transported to a fantasy world, and they basically they start like fucking shit up because they're warlords and like soldiers and stuff. It's pretty interesting. Anyway, Azumanga Daioh, which is a school slice of life comedy. Very, very good for like absurdist and surreal humor. Flying Witch, which is basically it's sort of a modern day like magic story about sort of witches. Very, very cozy vibes, very good vibes in that show, in that manga. Freyrin, which is pretty popular right now, at least the anime, and that's just about like it's set after the end of the story. After they defeat the Demon King, they're just kind of chilling, and then they're going and looking back and remembering the past. And the main character is an elf who doesn't perceive time as humans do. And then Opossums, which is a science fiction series. It's pretty hard sci-fi. The author is known for like very, very big brain sci-fi concepts. and this kind of has, I don't know, it's, yeah, as this is not a famous series. The famous series by this author is Blame or Blam, and then his other works, Knights of Sidonia, and I think Knights of Sidonia is the other like well-known one. But anyway, that's that. Kami Can't Communicate. Just about it's about high school life and the inability to communicate properly. Okay, then we go down, and I didn't explain what City and Nichijou are about. They're just two absurdist comedies. A lot of surreal humor. City is about the city life, like life in a city, and it has a lot of like interconnecting parts, sort of in a kind of an arabesque almost. It's very funny. It's very cozy. It's got a lot of like heartfelt moments, and I think it's probably one of the more underrated manga out there. Like it's very good. And then Nichijou is quite a lot more well known, although I don't think many people have read the manga. Which is so basically surrealist comedy, very like a lot of jokes, a lot of just like funny bits where it kind of points out the absurdity of everyday life. It just makes weird, not even weird, but just kind of like out of pocket jokes about it. It's got a very good very good sense of humor, very witty, a lot of cultural references. Yeah, this author I reckon is probably one of the better comedy manga authors out there, and or mangaka, I believe is the word for manga author. And then Bakemonogatari, which is the manga adaptation of this. And this manga adaptation, it's very much led by the creative direction of the artist who drew this manga. That's kind of inspired by the story. So the story in this manga version is not the same as the one in here, but it's loosely the same. And it's very much in the mangaka O'Great's style, which is very... it has a lot of like visual metaphors, sort of creative angles and shots, kind of sort of impossible things. Kind of like slightly JoJo's-esque, if that makes sense, but not at all like JoJo's. Just sort of slightly JoJo-esque in the kind of like impossible like anatomy and like poses and like sort of composition, but not in terms of tone at all. And then we have that. Let's quickly run through these. Asadora is about it's a kaiju series, and it's also about young lady called Asa who I think grows up just after World War II, and this follows her life up to, I believe, 2020. I'm not sure what happens after that. It just kind of starts like at 2020 and then goes back in time, and then tells the story. Solomon, which I do not know what it's about, but it's by Asano, so it's probably quite good, but also very like depressing and maybe slightly psychologically scarring. And then these are two of Tatsuki Fujimoto's considered like good works. Obviously everyone likes Chainsaw Man, but these are more kind of like cinematic standalone pieces, more like art house films than like an anime series or anything. And then hashtag DRCL is sort of a retelling of Dracula, but in Shinichi Sakamoto style. So yeah, don't need to explain Evangelion. And Noise, Blame prequel. It's what happens in, I don't know, it's kind of like sci-fi, but also not. It's very very good art, and it's kind of hard to like articulate what even goes on in that one. Yeah. And then Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko is post-apocalyptic slice of life. Very cozy, very chill vibes, with a hint of melancholia. And is actually very good and has a very good anime. It's just a couple of OVAs, but they're really good. And then we did that. Not going to explain the single volumes. We did that one. Okay, this bottom shelf. Oh, not bottom shelf, but this one. Okay, so we have Tatsuki Fujimoto 11 to 21, which is a collection of stories that he wrote during that time, when he was the age of 17 to 21. And then we have 2 volumes of Yotsuba, 3 and 5 in Japanese. Then we have 2 volumes of Barakamon, which is volume 1 and volume 2. Then we have 1 random volume of Rama 1/2, which is volume 30. Then we have the beginning of Daemons of the Shadow Realm, so volumes 1 to 8, which is the newest series by Hiromu Arakawa, who is the author of Fullmetal Alchemist. So expect this to be very good. We have 1 book of poetry, You Sleep Uphill. Then we have Raymond Feist, Magician, and A Song of Ice and Fire. Just some fantasy novels, eh? Then we have Go-Go Monster by Taiyo Matsumoto. Taiyo Matsumoto is a very one-of-a-kind artist. Very much he depicts things in quite a sketchy, sort of playful style, but has a really detailed attention to realism and is sort of your artist's artist. He's very good. He has a few critically acclaimed things. I think Tick on Concrete and Ping Pong are his 2 most well-known works. Then we have another Go Tanabe volume, just kind of chilling in the corner, which is The Color Out of Space. The manga version of A Night in the Galactic Railway, which is a children's story, a classic Japanese children's story. And then we have 1 random volume of Full Night, a manga adaptation of Kafka. So just depicting some Kafka stories in a manga style. It's not this manga, the Kafka manga is not in a manga art style that you would recognize. It's in a very different style from the typical anime style. And then we have 2 volumes of The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. Then we have a comic book called Black Hole. We have 2 big volumes of Inuyasha. We have 1 volume of Princess Jellyfish, which is a josei. We have 1 volume of Innocent, which is the same author as #DRCL on the top shelf. It's about an executioner in France, and Then we have 3 volumes of Dandadan and 3 volumes of Pluto. Dandadan is science fiction, fantasy, comedy, romance thing going on. Very wacky, kind of bizarre, very unhinged, but quite funny and heartfelt. And then we have Pluto, which is Naoki Urasawa work, which is a retelling of a famous Astro Boy story, except in a gritty Naoki Urasawa style. Very good science fiction. Naoki Urasawa is an amazing mangaka, and probably going to be remembered as one of the greats. And then we have 1 volume of Witch Hat Atelier. And then bottom shelf. All right, on the bottom shelf, we have an old volume of Dr. Zhivago. It's probably, this one's quite old. But it's a Russian classic. And then we have The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The first 4 books from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I believe there's 5 in total. But this book was made during Douglas Adams' lifetime, so it's quite good. So yeah, I'm not even going to bother explaining The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's its own thing. Then we have 1 volume of Vinland Saga, and then we have all of The Children of the Whales. Then we have 2 New Zealand comics, some New Zealand comics. We have System Earth. So we have Volume 1 of System Earth and Volume 2, Issue 1. Then we have 3 issues of the comic anthology Battle. Then we have the first omnibus of Baltimore, which is a comic book that's drawn by a New Zealand artist. Then we have the first 3 volumes of The Sandman. And then these are my records, which I'm not going to go through. And then some folders. Yeah, so that's the shelf. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, so just going to quickly do a little scan. Yeah. I just need to remember when I'm buying stuff that I already have all the stuff. And some of this is not read. A decent amount has been read. I'd say probably about half of this shelf has been read, which is a good number to be at. You kind of don't want to have like a large unread collection, but at the same time, when you've read all of your stuff, it's kind of like, what do you do now? So yeah, that's that. That's kind of me. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.